And Jake, I want to pivot to another headline coming out today. Government documents showing that U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi sold at least $1 million worth of Trump media shares the day the president announced sweeping tariffs. I can only imagine there are legal and, of course, ethical questions to this.
There are, and those have already started to be raised on Capitol Hill today by Democratic congressmen and senators. Certainly more to come in the Democratic investigations front, but really what the crux of this is that on April 2nd, which was President Trump called it Liberation Day, where he announced that sweeping set of tariffs, Attorney General Bondi sold at least $1 million and up to what she said she had in December, which is about $4 million of Trump Media Company stock. That company owns Truth Social, and a number of other projects that the company is working on to kind of make President Trump's brand online continue to flourish. And she was a consultant on that project before the election and before she was named as Attorney General and confirmed earlier this year. And yes, traditionally you would divest that, but to do the divest shares, especially in the millions of dollars of something that belongs to President Trump. But I think you have to remember here, doing it on a day where the stocks tanked across the board. These stocks dropped about 10% before rebounding. Certainly raises some questions, and not just about her, but generally what the Trump administration is doing to make sure that cabinet officials and other Trump White House officials, as we know, many of them have a lot of money and a lot of high and value assets, what they're doing to make sure that there is no improper trading, especially when it pertains to something that's as closely tied to President Trump as his media group.
Yeah, I mean, follow up to that. I mean, we're talking insider trading here, potentially, correct?
Yes, and the Department of Justice has not given us clarification on when this happened. We do know that it was on April 2nd, but we don't know whether it was after the market or as the announcement was being made. We don't know what she knew and when. It's very hard to prove something like that in a court of law, but certainly something that Democrats can continue to go on. And I think certainly raises more questions about Attorney General Bondi's ethical stance in what she did while she was not in the administration. In addition to that, it was lobbying on behalf of the Qatari government, which, as we know, she approved, according to CBS News reporting, a memo that would allow President Trump to accept that $400 million plane, which is at the center of like an entirely different ethical dilemma for President Trump, and in terms of accepting a gift of that high value while he's in the White House to then claim it as his own after he leaves.
Okay, I want to pivot to another case we're following. Jake, the Newark mayor in court today following his arrest outside an immigration detention facility later last week. So what's the update there?
Well, according to our colleagues at WCBS, this was just a hearing to kind of set the table for what's next in the case. And they were some back and forth about what evidence the government would want to introduce, what evidence Mayor Ras Baraka of Newark would want to introduce in this case. He says and said outside the courtroom after appearing very briefly today that he believes he was deliberately targeted with this arrest. Certainly, the Department of Justice has not really disputed that. They tried to make a point that he had trespassed into this ICE detention center. Baraka says he was invited in and then arrested. But really, the big thing here, and it's in addition to Judge Dugan, is the show of force that they have done in terms of arresting a sitting judge, in terms of arresting a sitting mayor who's running for governor in New Jersey, all to make a point that these people have gotten in the way, either through protests or their actions in terms of getting in the way of the Trump administration's immigration activities. And this is really all in relation to an ICE detention center that's in New Jersey, as New Jersey is a sanctuary state and Newark is a sanctuary city. However, and there's ongoing litigation over the ICE detention center in which Baraka was arrested at. The state is trying to order it closed. The federal government is trying to keep it open and fill it with potential removal and removees and deportees under the Trump administration.
Jake Rosen, thank you so much for keeping tabs on all these different cases for us.